Welcome back to Done with Depression. Today we are going on the sketchiest Craigslist listing ever. So if you haven't been following me on Instagram, check it out here. I'll put my tag up over there. But I have been doing a lot of woodworking, restoration type things on Instagram, and what I kind of figured out as I got into doing that is that I need what's called a thickness planer. And a thickness planer essentially cuts all your sanding time in half, if not more. The face of the board, when you put it through, it has blades, and it just essentially cuts off the top part of the board, and it makes sanding and everything else a whole lot easier. So I'm looking for this DeWalt Thickness Planer. It goes for about $450 on Amazon or Home Depot, and I found it on Craigslist for $200. Listing had no pictures, and the guy doesn't text. So I called the guy, $200, which is kind of sketch already because it's less than half price. No pictures, kind of sketch. Doesn't text, kind of sketch. Call the guy, and he tells me that his neighbor died 2 days prior. But not only did his neighbor die 2 days prior, but he didn't call it in because he didn't want to be bothered by it, and so he waited 2 days to call it in. So what could have been like a 1-minute phone call ended up being over 20-minute phone call of this guy talking and firing up the planer for me so I could hear that it turns on, I guess, over the phone. But yeah, guy lives in Clear Lake, 2 hours away. I get to drive on Highway 20, which is kind of cool because it's twisty and turny. I'm taking the truck, so I get to downshift in manual gear and kind of hit the turns pretty fast, and that'll be fun, but pretty sketch. Guy tells me about his neighbor dying, doesn't have pictures, doesn't do text, more than 50% off the item. It's pretty sketch, but we're gonna do it, see what happens, and we'll check back in soon. I don't think I mentioned this before, but when I was on the phone with this guy, he kept saying how much things he has to sell. And, oh, if you're interested in this, oh, bring some money for that, bring some money for this, oh yeah, I have this for sale. Which, to me, after a certain point, when you're talking as much as he did, and you're saying you have all these things, it almost seems like you're baiting me into bringing more money. So I just left, but I got all the stuff that I needed. Made it out alive. It was pretty sketch. You pull down this dirt road and there's not a lot there, and then meet up with the guy and go into the backyard, into the shed, and it's just you and the guy back there, and you have money on you and he knows you have money on you. So it was a little sketch. He did talk a lot again, and he said that there was another triple homicide this time, I guess, right down the street and around a little bit to where he lives. And he said someone shot 3 of them, including a pregnant lady. So I don't know why he keeps bringing those things up. It's not like you're gonna make any friends talking about those sort of things. You just kind of freak people out a little bit, I think. But he said that his next door neighbor that died was 60. She drank herself to death, I guess. So that was real. And I saw on the doors they had the stickers on them so you can't open the doors, or so that they know if someone's entered the house or not. So that was pretty sketch. But I made it out. I got a pretty good haul, so when I get back home, we'll go over the stuff that I got and how much I paid for everything. Alright, Alright, so I'm back in the garage here and we're gonna go over the haul that I got from the sketchy Craigslist guy. So here we have a belt sander. It's a Bosch. It's a relatively older model, but I took it apart, cleaned it up a little bit. It came with the bag on it, and it's actually variable speed. So sometimes when you're using a sander, it just has one speed that it does, but this one has a little speed adjustment on the trigger, so you can have a slower speed or a higher speed depending on how much sanding you actually do. And along with that, sanding pads for the belts, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 different belts for the belt sander. Here we have another sander, and this one's Craft Tech. I'm not sure what brand that is, but this one you can cut up pieces of sandpaper and attach them on here, and it just makes it a little bit easier for different things. If you have a grain of sandpaper that you really need, sometimes it's more expensive to buy the pads for it, so you can buy just a big sheet, cut it up and put it on there. Here we have a new 10-inch blade, and it's coated, so you can see the blue around it. It's not paint, it's heat resistant coating, and it has 60 teeth on it, and so it's really good for fine cutting, finish cutting, and it's almost good enough to cut plastic with. What's hard about cutting plastic is that it will melt, and so you want to have the coating on there, and then you also want to have more than 80 teeth just so it doesn't really chip out your plastic. But the big one, the DeWalt planer here, is what we came for. And this guy was pretty dirty. He said that he took pretty good care of it and he didn't use it a whole lot, but the inside was pretty nasty. I think there was some moisture in there, and so when he did use it, all of the sawdust and particles kind of stuck to the side. So I took about 2 hours last night cleaning the inside of it. Pretty much took everything apart, wiped it down, re-oiled it, did that whole thing. What was kind of nice is that it did come with this guy, which instead of the sawdust just going directly out, it diverts it off to the side, and you can hook a shop vac up to this as well. So you can have the shop vac going with this, and you'll reduce a lot of the extra sawdust that gets stuck in the machine. I also ordered new blades for it on Amazon, so those actually came today, and I'll be able to switch those blades out, and I cleaned the whole inside of the machine, so it should be good to go. I think I got a fair deal on this. I paid $200 on this, and for all this other stuff it was $60, so I paid $260 for this whole thing. I know this blade is worth a decent amount of money just because it's coated, and the higher teeth and coating that it has, typically the more valuable it is. Belt sanders are moderately priced. It is an older one, but it came with the sandpaper belts, and it's a variable speed, which makes it a little bit more valuable. And then this guy, he kind of just threw this in. I probably didn't really need it, but now I have kind of all three of the sanders, the Orbit sander, this guy, and the belt sander. So it was a nice thing to have. I have some sheets laying around that I can cut up and put in there. But this DeWalt planer was what I went for. So I know there's probably some questions about how I got the numbers that I did, but essentially what I did was, for the planer, I couldn't find one that was being listed on Amazon or eBay. And so I took the newest model and figured out the % difference between the newest model and the lesser model, which was I think 15 or 17%, and then subtracted that from the lesser model from my discontinued model to get its new value, and then from there I did for all of my equations, if it was used, I did 75% of the new price. So once I found the new price for my model planer, multiplied that by 0.75 and got its used price. Some of the things I was able to find used on eBay, and then some $260 total. And I know you guys are gonna say, well, you had to use gas to get out there and your time and all of that. Gas was less than $40, and I enjoyed the drive, and it was overall a pretty good experience, and I like cleaning up and working on the tools, so that's fun as well. So let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Thumbs up if you like this format of video, and I'll see you guys next time.